Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 14th of June. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director of Fairmont Equities. Your Stock Request is a weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the share price charts for you. This week we have MYOB, Platinum Asset Management, SCU, ESI and Hansen, HSN. This will be the last video for a few weeks. The next video of Your Stock Request will be on the 26th of July. So if you have a request and you want to send it through, there's no rush, just send it through on the few days leading up to the 26th so I can have a few weeks off. And also just bear in mind, any advice here is general only. So looking at MYOB, we've got the weekly chart here. We can see clearly it had a good run in 2016 and it's been a downward slide ever since then. Recent price action is quite negative. So on the weekly chart, we can see all these red candles and they're all opening pretty much right at the bottom end of the preceding candle. So very negative. It looks as though it's going to slide back towards that low, that 2016 low. So gravitate towards there and then possibly bounce. If we do get a bounce, the key resistance level is sort of around $3 where it, the last sort of swing low that it bounced off. So if it fails to overlap that, we could even see it head further, but any sort of bounce needs to go through $3 and then it starts to look interesting again. Platinum Asset Management, so we've got a fairly decent sell-off. That's pretty clear on the chart from earlier in the year. But in the last several weeks, it has looked fairly positive. So there's a nice rally here from late April, early May. And then in the last few weeks, it has been easing back, but you'll notice that the sell-off in the last few weeks is nothing compared to what it's copped earlier in the year. So starting to look a bit more positive, and on the daily chart, we can see this movement up here, and it looks as though the last few weeks is just a bit of a flag, which means if we get a breakthrough here, we could get a bit of a rally. But moving out to the weekly chart, it looks like we could be getting an inverse head and shoulders forming. So it's early days yet, of course, but it looks like we've got a left shoulder, the head. Could be forming a right shoulder. If it falls away here, then we don't have that. But I think if it reverses here pretty soon and pushes through this neckline, then we've got an inverse head and shoulders. And the target is the depth of that on top. And your initial target's there around that sort of $7.30 level. SCU. So I'll just go to a daily chart. This is the last several months. Just zoom out a bit more. So the last year, you can see a huge trading range, 14 cents down to 2 cents with a few spikes in between. I'm not familiar with this company. It might be a great company, stem cells, but all I'm commenting on is the chart, and the chart's showing me that every time it gaps up and has a bit of a run, it gets sold into for some reason. So the day traders are still giving this one a go. All of these rallies have been sold into, unfortunately. Big spike up last week on volume, but could follow through, sold off straight away. So not looking positive, unfortunately. Likely to keep drifting lower. It'd be nice to see one of the rallies kick on and any sort of selling. It'd be nice to see it sort of hold up and have more of a flat correction as opposed to coming all the way back every time the selling kicks in. So the next one, ESI. So we can see it's had a rough 2016-17. Started off this year looking pretty positive. The volume started to come back in, but unfortunately a couple of weeks ago it was sold down fairly heavily, and you can see the big volume here. So it's not a good sign. Even just looking at the daily chart, I'm not really getting any indication that it's going to bounce now. So based on the current chart, I think it'll keep sliding, probably back towards these levels. And finally, Hansen. Since the lows last year, it's been trending up, so higher highs, higher lows, which is all good. The slight negative is as it went to a new high a few weeks ago, it came back. It's just come back maybe a little bit too sharply, but at the end of the day, we've still got these higher highs and lows, so I can't get too negative on it. And we can see on this weekly chart that it's generally holding that uptrend line. So it needs to turn around here. If I move to a daily chart, it looks as though $4 is also a key support level. So it really needs to bounce here in the next few days. If it starts closing under $4, unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a negative sign, and that could imply lower levels. But for the moment, still looks good, still trending higher, but we're at crunch time here. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you have a request, just give it a few weeks and we'll be back on the 26th, and I'll have a look at it then for you.